everybody. I've got John with me today, and we are going to be talking about the idea of the mythical, whether it's IT or data specific or RPA or whatever, but fill in the blank, unicorn that we often see in job postings or in job responsibilities, and kind of diving into that a little bit as it pertains to data and analytics. But before we jump into the questions that I have for you, John, can you give everybody a quick introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. Emma, it's great to be working with you and to be talking about data and specifically the topic of unicorns. So I've spent my entire career working in the analytics space across a few different industries, from corporate to nonprofit and now higher ed. Today, I'm the Director of Data Analytics and Strategy at Syracuse University. At the end of the day, I'm a data enthusiast. I live and breathe data. We were just joking that today is actually my day off, and we're here talking about data. So I'm really excited for the topics today and look forward to your perspective as well.
I'm excited for the passion, again, on a day off. I felt a little bad giving you a Zoom meeting, but at least we get to have a conversation that we're excited about. So we are both familiar with this term of like the unicorn hunting, and there's a lot of articles that talk about this idea specifically as it pertains to roles that kind of fall into this umbrella of digital transformation. But maybe not everybody joining us knows what we mean, and they're a little confused when we start talking about this idea of a unicorn hanging out in the middle of our transformation talk. So can you start by kind of outlining what your thought process is behind this idea of unicorn hunting, and specifically how it might pertain to a data and analytics team?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure that there's a formal definition for unicorn hunting, but so I'll offer an informal one, and that's that it's really the process of identifying talent to cover all aspects or the broad spectrum of data. So, and what I mean by that is the data scale, as many of us in this space understand, really covers everything from your master manipulators of data to your communicators or strategists of data. So I think those are, and we'll talk about this, I know, but down the road, but there's a lot of unrealistic expectations surrounding that. So data teams in general and organizations in general, certainly over my career, have realized this pressure to create insights and competitive advantage or to increase market share through their data teams. And I'm not so sure that that's something that every data team is capable of doing.
I think it's, that idea of skill sets and finding people that can meet kind of this broad spectrum, whether it's, I mentioned, I think we see this a lot in IT roles across the board, or even that idea of requesting 10 years of experience for an entry-level position. It's that mindset of being realistic with how you are matching up your expectations with the team that you're bringing in and the outcome that you're going to find. Because to your point, somebody that has the mind to be very analytical and dive deep into the data might not be the best person to break down that message and share it with a business user in a consumable way. And I would say the same is probably true for people that are like really wonderful, great, intelligent developers. They might not be the best person to drive some of your process discussions in front of a customer. So it's being realistic about that and understanding what skill sets and capabilities you need and how those can match up to individuals. And there certainly are those unicorns out in the world, and if you have one in your organization, hold on real tight and pay them very well. But that kind of brings me into this next question of understanding from your perspective, what are some of those key roles? You mentioned a couple of them that are needed for an organization to start kind of thinking about as they build their human capital strategy as it pertains to data and analytics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are some fundamental questions to ask first. One, just trying to develop an understanding of where your data organization or your business is today is important, and then where you want it to be a couple of years from now. For instance, what does your data infrastructure look like? the architecture, what resources or capabilities do you have currently or do you need to be successful? Again, I think a lot of times organizations say we need a data analytics and strategy team, for instance, to just drive insights and inform our operation when we don't necessarily have the foundational aspects solidified. So, and I think the end goal for organizations and for data teams is to really find complementary pieces. So the world of data is so specialized today that you can actually go out and locate apologies here.
Hey, Katie.
But you can go out and find people that are experts in sort of data extraction or data visualization, whatever it might be, but you might not necessarily need data visualization at this stage in your organization, so in your development. But at the end of the day, it's really understanding what are some of those business outcomes, the goals that you're looking to achieve in the next year, 2 years, then where do you want to be? I had this discussion with a lot of my colleagues that data teams are often asked to just start modeling and forecasting, predicting the future. And it's, the development, the evolution of getting to sort of predictive or prescriptive analytics takes incredible time, patience, and resources. And a lot of times data teams don't have that initially. So a lot of times we're still working on, understanding what our CRM is capable of, putting some processes to this, to these various procedures. So at the end of the day, I do think it's finding some of those pieces that complement each other. Don't look for, and don't ask someone to cover all aspects of the data world. I think you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing your team a disservice, and you're likely there's some risk involved in doing that, because maybe then you're not delivering the quality of product or service that you desire.
And it is okay, and one of the things that we talked about, and we'll talk about a little bit more in this next question, it's okay to bring in outside resources or, vendors to help support areas of opportunity within your team, just the same way that it is with any other project. You may have a team that's really, really great at, you mentioned the CRM, at supporting the application and helping make sure that you are keeping in mind capabilities and identifying opportunities. But maybe if you get to a new area that your team hasn't experienced before, that's where you leverage the partnership that you've got in place with, whether it's the CRM developer or integrator that you're working with. And that should be the case, that you're, constantly looking at what are our, kind of doing a skill set matrix of what do we have internally, what do we reference as through our partnerships, and how do we build this strategy, including both of those, to make sure that we're not introducing unnecessary risk into our projects and the like. So when we've built out this team and or supplemented it with any of those partnerships or vendors that we're working with, what are some of the outcomes that organizations can start to look forward to or expect with a data and analytics team built out and supporting them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to add to your comment there real quick around some of those external partnerships. I think a lot of times organizations tend to shy away from them because of the cost factor. But I think these are very strategic moves you can make to accelerate your data model, if you will. So, for instance, if you want to build out some of those data visualizations, those dashboards that we were just talking about, you might seek an external partner to do that, and they can focus solely on that aspect relative to your business, as opposed to you, who might be covering, again, those various aspects. So I definitely recommend exploring all of those possibilities, leveraging some of those strategic partnerships to create business leverage. But as it pertains to the question around business outcomes specifically, I think every data team at the end of the day should be focused on a couple things. One is providing support. So that's internally, externally to your stakeholders, providing them with an opportunity through data to inform their operation or to impact strategic decisions, which is what we all want our data to do. And that really covers a broad range, right? That's everything from some of your operational ad hoc reporting to establishing sort of monthly recurring reporting and then maybe some of those models that we talk about down the road. The second piece is really innovation. I'm a steal the iOS terminology here. I like to focus on innovation, optimization, and standardization. So I think 20 or 30% of your time should be spent on either identifying new technologies, putting some SOPs to the various procedures or processes that you have in place. And then the last piece is really just that analytics piece, right? I think once you have the foundational components in place, you can leverage your CRM the way you want to. You have these models in place. What analysis are you conducting on a regular basis that might, again, inform your leading and lagging indicators? So those are all of the things that I think data teams need to be prioritizing. That last piece, the analytics piece, is a challenging component only because I think a lot of times data teams could really provide value if they were given that time to conduct an analysis, but rarely are they actually able to, because a lot of times they're focusing on some of those ad hoc reports or trying to put out fires every time something breaks with your CRM or there's a discrepancy. So those are the three things that I think ultimately, from a business outcome perspective, your data team can really influence.
I mean, obviously you can find one person to do that all, right? That mythical unicorn.
Yeah, I don't know if I can entirely comment on that, but there are those expectations certainly, and I think that's what creates a challenge for a lot of data teams. It is possible to, like I said, find people or talent that. And again, this should be part of your human capital strategy that really complement each other, right? So find someone that is great at communicating the data to develop strategy from the insights, the data itself. Find your systems expert, the person that knows all the nuances of the system, can identify problems quickly, troubleshoot them. But to be asking one person to do all that is it's risky for sure.
It's a tall order. Well, John, thank you so much for joining me today and talking through this. I'm interested to see, as we get this conversation going, what other viewpoints we get from people that are across the digital transformation landscape and if they've identified this idea of the unicorn as well. But for anybody that is not connected with John, pop over, connect with him on LinkedIn, and then I also have the inside scoop that him and our friend Paula are going to be releasing some more videos here in the coming days, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're following both of them so you can get access to those videos as well. But thank you very much, John, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you.
If you're looking for expert tips on how to get started with your transformation or looking to hone in on your approach, make sure that you subscribe to our channel to catch our weekly Digital Transformation Talk series, where we interview experts from around the world on how to make it happen.